We were treating acute myeloid leukemia with 7 and 3 in 1977. We are still doing the same in 2018. What is the best way forward to change it by 2028?
So this disease is slowly yielding its secrets. The molecular studies have shown that it's not one disease, it's many diseases. And I think the only way forward is to understand the heterogeneity of the diseases and the fact that it's not one size fits all. 7 and 3, I thought would be going out of fashion when I was a fellow, when I was an attending, and when I became a senior attending, we were still using it. It says something about the opaqueness of the disease and our inability to really grasp the complexity. In addition, it's probably not just the leukemia cells, it's the environment that supports it. I think that the role of the osteoblast is very, very little understood. And it's probably a big contributor because it's a permissive environment, and if that can be better understood, and the osteoblast is one of the main components of the hematopoietic niche, I think that might be the bad guy, one of the bad guys, and I think that we need to open up our thinking to not just killing with an anthracycline and a cytarabine. I think we really need to bring many experts together and not just chemotherapy people to solve some of the real riddles here, because there are riddles.
Yes. Thank you. My second question is, there's 3.5 million papers on cancer. 135,000 published in 2017 alone. There's a staggering disconnect between great scientific insights and translation to improved therapies. What are we doing wrong?
You know, I think that's a complicated issue because I think in academic medicine, one of the pressures is to publish. So even if we have relatively small results, relatively small studies, to really be successful in academic medicine, there is a gun to our head for just the number of publications. So I think the froth of the publications is a reflection of what we are asked to do as academic medicine people. Instead of staying with one project and perhaps doing a collaborative study that might take more than a year or two to figure out, we are asked to do the quick and easy, which is a clinical trial of another set of combination drugs that isn't really going to change our understanding of the disease. So the disconnect, I think, is part of what academic medicine has produced in all of us, the pressure to publish. But we can probably all remember in the last 5 years the main 5 papers or so, and certainly acute leukemia, that have really opened the door to our understanding, and the genetics, the microenvironment, some from Columbia, from your center. But I think the answer to the question of why the number of papers is just the result of where academic medicine is. Not a happy place in many instances.
Well, the fact that children respond to the same treatment better than adults seems to suggest that the cancer biology is different, and also the host is different.
Right.
So, since most cancers increase with age, even having good therapy may not matter because the host is decrepit.
Yes. Decrepit's a harsh word, but you're probably right. So definitely, I mean, I think one of the more interesting publications in the last year has been clonal hematopoiesis, or the age-related clonal hematopoiesis with the genetic mutations TET2, ASXL1, that are present in people, but only 2 to 3% of these people develop AML. So in children, I don't think it's been looked at routinely, but I think younger people in the original paper from the Harvard group showed a very low incidence of this in 20-year-olds. I don't think that children were looked at, but it's clearly a different disease in children than it is adults. And I think that that's clearly true in ALL, where the survival rate in good and standard risk ALL children is 95%. But adults, obviously, it's a different disease. So the answer is the host is different. No one's compared what the components of the niche are. No one's really looked at what support leukemia cells, as we talked about, really apart from osteoblasts, and the difference in children and adults between the actual disease kinetics. So I think that's a very interesting field, but I think that the diseases are very different.
Ellen, you have great knowledge and experience in the field. If you were given limitless resources to plan a cure for cancer, what will you do?
Are you saying cancer in general or leukemia in particular?
Everything.
Well, what would I do? I would probably bring together the most divergent group of people and have them, much like the campus is in Washington, D.C., the farm, I can't remember the name of it, where a lot of investigators are present in the same, physically in the same building. And I'd bring them together for a year if I had all the money in the world, and just have them talk, engineers, nutrition people, GI people who know a lot about intestinal heterogeneity, because that's a fascinating field of what colonic bacteria, how that contributes to immunity in the host. And I would have everyone have lunch together, sit down together, and I think that a big community of really smart people with different interests would help each other tremendously. I mean, just my own collaboration with Stavroula Kosteni at Columbia as an osteoblast expert and as someone who treats people with leukemia, I mean, we came up with some kind of crazy theories, and it was, first of all, it was so much fun, but second of all, I think that's what science is all about. It's just talking and thinking about what the important questions are and have many people answer. What I usually tell our fellows, I ask them when they all start in July, I say, what journals do you subscribe to? And everybody says JCO and Blood, maybe, for the fellows who are a little bit more sophisticated. And I say, you should really be reading either Science or Nature, because you have to be reading about archaeology, about planetary systems, about current topics that are topical in medicine and because paleontology and early fossils. I mean, because I think that you have to remember why you went into science, and you went into science because you were probably curious about, why the sun came up every morning. What are constellations? And I think that part of us has to be nurtured all the time, and we can't let the curiosity get squished out of us by our narrow hallways that we walk. We have to remain open to other themes and other parts of science.
It's beautiful. Thank you. Last question. And I know that you are perfectly suited to answer this because you have so much hands-on experience. Offering patients with advanced stage non-curable cancer palliative but toxic treatments is a service or disservice in the current therapeutic landscape?
I think it's a disservice. I think people at the end of their lives are really, it's very important that people are comfortable at the end of our lives, and if their lives, we're all going to be there at some point in time, and I think that attention to that is the most important thing an oncologist can do, and that's what we're all trained for. We should all be well versed in how to do it, when to do it, and how to provide support in doing it. Unfortunately, hospitals, at least big cancer hospitals, aren't the right place for people at the end of their lives, and there are very few hospices, at least compared to the need. But I think hospices get it right. I have a lot of respect for hospice care providers because I think it requires a certain person to be able to do that. But from the physician end, it's we have to be able to say, I have nothing more that I can do to help your disease, but it doesn't mean that I stop caring for you. I just care for you in a different way. I'm changing from aggressive care to supportive care. And we'll still see each other. I'll still be your physician, but our focus is going to be comfort. And it's hard, actually, for many people to say that, for the care team to say that. But I hope it's not hard for me. It hasn't been, but it's certainly a challenge to do it right.
Thank you so much, Ellin.
Oh, you're welcome, Azra. A
Anything
pleasure.
else you'd like to add? You're welcome to.
No, I think that's it.
Okay, well, thank you. We're done.